and yell through the forested landscape. Holy cow, Tess! You get paid to play in the woods? That's crazy! This, of course, then leads to a discussion about life, the choices we make, the routes we take, and the profound power of awakening to our creativity and passion. 14 years ago, when I started taking kids into the woods, it wasn't because I had decided this was going to be my job. Could never even have imagined such a job. I was homeschooling my girls. We had made the outdoor world our classroom because isn't that where every kid wants to be? Outside and in the dirt. We were enjoying life, and others started to take notice. They wanted for their children what my kids had: freedom in the natural world. A few moms started talking, and once moms start talking, it isn't long before things happen. Before I knew it, a bunch of moms were handing their kids to me, saying they would pay me to take their children into the woods. This was too good to be true. But why me? The investigator in me, my previous profession, started to do her research. I did not have a degree in environmental science. I didn't have any formal wilderness training, nor did I have any teaching credentials. But as I reflected and searched for answers, I was drawn to my upbringing, to my roots. My dad, a New York City dentist who always wanted to be a farmer because of the influence from an uncle of his roots, bought the old colonial farmhouse and farmland I still live in today. He moved his young family out of the city to the rural countryside of the Berkshires. Our bookshelves are filled with tree identification guides, animal tracking and scat books, Yule Gibbons stalking the wild asparagus, always at arm's reach. My dad taught me things about the natural world that I thought everyone knew, like where the ramps and fiddleheads grew, how to find the goldenrod spider, the difference between a fox, coyote, and bobcat track, how to make dandelion fritters. Didn't everyone know this stuff? Roots matter. I taught my girls what my dad taught me, and the roots grew. When I spend the day playing in the woods, I mean working, I lose track of time. Before I know it, we are rushing to pack our backpacks, leave the enchanted forest, return to the outside world, and meet the parents for pickup. It's the hardest part of our day, leaving. I'm not the only one that feels like this. The kids can't believe our day is over. Tess, why do we have to go? We can't leave. We're having too much fun. The day can't be over. When I feel like this, and all the kids in the woods feel like this, I can be pretty sure we're on the right track, the route to happiness, creating a life that matters. Something else happens in the woods. I'm having fun. Yep, an adult, an old lady, running around playing games like I was a kid again. Have you ever noticed when you're around someone that's having fun, it's hard not to jump on board? Fun is contagious. And boy, does learning happen when fun is happening. Do something that you enjoy, that you lose track of time when you're doing it. That is fun, and see how you feel. I bet you feel pretty darn good. Happy, powerful, maybe even invincible, on track, alive, awake, connected. You feel joyful. And you feel like this. The universe takes notice and energetically supports this route to happiness, this route to a life that matters. Your route in life. Now we're getting to the root of the matter. So what do we do in the woods? Well, this can be considered some highly confidential information. Top secret even. But I'm hoping this talk is going to be a hit. So I'm going to fill you in. We focus on some of the most important life skills there are, like how to make fire. How to make fire without matches. How to use a 4-inch straight blade knife. That's important. We learn how to build shelters out of sticks and leaves on the ground. We learn how to find wild, edible food and prepare it. We learn how to do tick checks and destroy those little buggers. And then check each other and not let this inconvenience dampen our love for the outdoors. The kids learn how to dress appropriately for all kinds of weather. They learn how to pack a backpack for the day in the woods. They learn how to take care of themselves without always having mom right there to lean on. But there is more. Beyond these trackable life skills, real magic happens in the woods. We disconnect from the busyness and static of the outside world. We get quiet. We listen. We awaken our senses and use our bodies. We look away from our screens and gaze out far into the distance to take in this big picture, this great, big, beautiful world. Around the fire at night, under a starry black sky, when the edginess fades and the silence sets in, the stories start. There is a knowing that is deep and old. Something inside us awakens when we hang out in the woods. We begin to remember that everything is connected and that our roots matter. 20 years ago, ecologist Suzanne Simard investigated, researched, and discovered that trees communicate via a network of lattice fungi buried in the soil. Guess where Suzanne hung out? In the woods. Her grandfather was a logger, her dad a forester. Her roots mattered. After many years of scientific tests, trials, and discoveries, she and German forester Peter Wohlenben wrote a book together titled The Secret Lives of Trees. It is now understood and scientifically accepted that trees communicate through their roots. They talk. They communicate important information like, danger! Watch out for the infestation of bark borer beetles coming your way. Help! I need more water. Parent trees will bend to allow more sunlight to reach their offspring, and they will send vital nutrients from their stores through their root systems to nourish their young. I bet they even communicate gratitude. This is amazing. Trees talk. They are awake, aware. They feel. Our roots matter. Last year, a microburst windstorm blasted through my forest where I hold camp, tearing up giant trees by their roots, snapping others in half. It was total destruction. My heart ached for the pain and loss in this woods, and I lost hope. How could the kids and I return to these woods? We couldn't even walk around or find base camp without having to climb over giant white pines splintered on top of each other, other trees bent, ready to snap by the weight of their fallen family, and still others hanging, swaying halfway up, their giant canopies nearly touching the ground. It was dangerous and unwelcoming. I had known these woods my whole life. This is the woods I grew up in. This is the forest of my father's dreams. This is where I have been taking kids to learn and play for the last 14 years. I had seen loss, destruction, regrowth, and change before, but never at this scale. I was paralyzed. But as I stood there, I felt my connection. I felt my roots to this land. And so I promised my fallen friends that I would not make any hasty decisions. I would wait for time to settle my pain and fear, for a better knowing to come. I would stand witness to this change and loss. I would grieve it. And then I would wait for the trees to talk to me, for my roots to strengthen their hold. A few weeks later, the Red F clan was scheduled to come into the woods. I decided to stick with the plan, modify it a lot, and take these girls into the forest to begin the process of healing. Before we went into the woods, I explained to them what had happened, and I hoped that we could go up to base camp to be with our fallen friends. As the girls walked the well-worn path into the woods, they moved silently and in single file. Normally, we are a gaggle of giggling girlfriends, catching up on each other's lives, but not this time. As they moved further into the forest, they allowed their hands to brush against the trees that lined the path. Sometimes they stopped, and they leaned against these guides and looked up into the canopy to admire the magnificent cathedral above. Eventually, we walked through a grove of young white pines and arrived up at base camp. The destruction that came into view stopped the girls in their tracks, but not a word was uttered. In their knowing and connection to this land, the girls climbed over and under giant trunks, around root beds 20 feet high, to a tree that was calling to them. The image of these young girls sitting amongst their fallen friends, the sunlight streaming through the now open canopy, the silence in the listening, and a loving community offering their support will never leave my memory. The healing had begun. After about 20 minutes in this sacred space, we gathered around a fire pit and held hands. One by one, the girls spoke what their tree friends had told them. It was a message of hope. Don't leave us. We need you. We love you. Stay and be with the change that will come. Our roots matter. Clearly, the forest wanted us to remain a part of the network of connections. A community cleanup followed. Dads with chainsaws, giant burn piles of limbs and debris, many stacks of firewood. Families working together to make our space safe for us to return and continue our work and play. My aching heart was now filled with hope, gratitude, and love. A resilient community gathered around their fallen friends and made the difference. And the forest, it immediately began to rejuvenate and grow. Now when I go into the woods with the kids, we notice each time the change that is taking place. How loss and destruction makes way for growth. How a changed habitat invites different animals and species in to begin the process. We have been able to climb into the canopies of trees before unattainable, to see how they put out their buds, leaves, and seeds. We have learned that a severed canopy will continue to flower and fruit for another 2 years, even though it is cut off from its life force. Life isn't over, even when we think it ends. The connections never die. Our roots matter. Today, science is backing up what we, who hang out in the woods, already know. Quantum physics has done an excellent job of proving that everything is made up of energy and all things are connected. Our roots connect us. Every thought, word, and action affects everything else. Believe it. So get out into the woods and stand in the midst of this eternal wisdom that surrounds us. Get quiet and listen. Allow your roots to guide you on your journey. Know that it all matters. Give thanks and have fun. Thank you.